Hello everyone, this is Katarina. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm continuing with my Christmas card series with card number 7. Just as in my previous video, I was inspired by another card maker, this time by Jennifer McGuire. And I made a similar card, except Jennifer was partially die cutting, which I did not do, just because what I saw first was the thumbnail for the video. And in the thumbnail photo, all I saw was V-shaped die-cut card base, a red and white cardstock, golden embossing, and a flower poinsettia. These are the main supplies I will be using, although I planned not to buy any Christmas supplies this year, as I have plenty from last year. I didn't have any stamps for poinsettias, and also I thought that Jennifer used dies to cut the V-shaped border on the card base, and the stitch scallop basic edges from MFT I wanted to buy for a while. And one thing led to the other, and all of a sudden I was shopping. I actually have a video for the crafty things I bought before Christmas. I just didn't manage to release the video before I started my holiday series, but I will have it for you after Christmas. So first I started with the poinsettias. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it correctly. I used a single flower from the stamp set. I stamped multiple flowers on a Bristol cardstock with Versamark ink as I wanted to heat emboss it. Before I stamped, I treated the cardstock with the anti-static powder from EK Success. I just have it in a jar and I use a fluffy brush to apply it. As I said, I stamped multiple flowers and colored them all together, but for the card I only need one. For this stamp I used an acrylic block, no need for Misty in this case, and stamped the flowers 6 times. I picked a glittery golden embossing powder, but if I did this again, I would stay away from the glitter. Not because it's messy, but when I use the embossing powder on the sentiment, it would not hold. I just would use a regular golden embossing powder I have from Wow. I think also silver, platinum or white embossing powder would work as well. I also tried to brush off some of the embossing powder that was sticking where it's not supposed to. This time it was not too much work and I was going to cut off the flowers anyway. Then I took my heat gun and melted the embossing powder. To color the flowers I decided to use these brush markers from Sakura. It's the Koi coloring brush pen. My mom gave these to me, I think, either last year for Christmas or for my birthday. I don't have any other brush markers to compare them with, but these ones are water-based, so it should be similar to Zig or Tombow markers. And I started coloring, nothing special here. I had clear water and brushes ready. I just applied a marker at the bottom of the petal and moved the color to the top with my brush. I think the coloring looked good, although I'm no expert and for sure I'm beginner when it comes to coloring. I think it looks also very nice with the glittery embossing powder. Very sparkly. At the time I had only 2 shades of the brush markers. I needed yellow to color the middle of the flower, so I took my watercolors from Winsor & Newton. There is this dark yellow color. I thought it's a great shade of yellow for the middle of the flower. Even though the embossing powder covered the most of the middle, there were still spots that I wanted to cover, so I used this yellow color for that. For the flowers you can also use different colors. Poinsettias come in a variety of colors, and who says you need to be realistic anyway? Also different embossing powders. I made few other flowers where I used embossing powder from Wow. I think it was metallic platinum. And used my watercolors to color them. I used blue, yellow, pinks, so many options. I also needed to cut out the flowers. I don't have the coordinating dies for this stamp set. When I was shopping, it was either the dies for the stamp set or other product. And I decided for other product. And the image is not too complicated. I used my scissors to cut all of the flowers. Next, I was going to use the Sculpt Edges die from MFT, the one that has the V-shape form. And I die cut the bottom part of the card base. Here I taped the die with a washi tape so it doesn't move and made sure I have enough space for the sentiment. And also that the poinsettia fits as well. Then I run it through my die cutting machine. I did this off camera. And here is how it looks afterwards. Then I adhered a piece of red cardstock I have from papermilldirect. When Jennifer did this, I thought this is a great idea to use up all of my scraps of paper. I cut a few millimeters of the sides of the red panel so it fits the card base. Again, I did this off camera. and adhered it to the card base using a tape adhesive. Next, I was going to stamp and heat emboss the sentiment, and for this I used my mini Misty. I just wanted to be precise. I first used the glitter embossing powder, which didn't work, so I changed it to normal metallic gold embossing powder. It doesn't show very well on the camera, but there were few empty spaces in the sentiment where the embossing didn't stick. So I had to completely redo the card, as I already had the red cardstock adhered to the card base. This time I didn't adhere it. It's also better this way because the heat warps the cardstock a bit. I stamped the sentiment and heat embossed it with a gold platinum embossing powder from Wow. Also, a little tip, this card will not stand because the front of the card base is cut off, and I like my cards to stand because when I get cards myself, I put them on a shelf to display them. My mom does the same. That's actually why I like to make top folding cards. They just stand better than the side folding cards. So if you are like me and you like your cards to stand, what I would do here differently is just adhere the red cardstock on the inside of the front of the card base. Once I had the sentiment heat embossed, I adhered it inside of the card base using a tape runner. Next, I stamped and heat embossed a few of the images that are in the stamp set, like the berries and the pine branch. I placed it to be sort of peeking from behind of the poinsettia. And again, I used the embossing powder from Wow and heat set it. After that, I colored the berries and leaves with the same brush markers as the poinsettia. I applied them on the images and used a water brush to push the ink up. I would have used my brushes, but I already emptied the glass of water I used for the poinsettia, and I was too lazy to refill it. That's why I used a water brush, as I had it close by. Then I adhered the poinsettia at the bottom of the die cut edge, and I used a foam tape to give it a little bit of dimension. Lastly, I brought in some sequins. I didn't have a clear idea which colors I want to do. The red and white sequins you see are from Neat and Tangled, which I didn't end up using. And the golden ones are from Lucy's Cards. I also had red and golden sequins I bought in a local store. I adhered them using the multi-medium matte adhesive from Ranger. And I also decided to add a glossy accents on top of the berries to give them a little bit of dimension. And here's the finished card. I made another one using the metallic platinum embossing powder from Wow. I really like how they turn out. I hope you enjoyed these cards as well. If you did, I would appreciate if you gave this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future videos. As always, I will have the supplies listed in the description below this video as well as on my blog. On my blog, for most of the products, I will also add the links to the shops where you can buy them. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!